Today we're going to be talking about one-step equations involving multiplication and division in decimals. So all of our problems will involve decimals today. So you will be able to use your calculators for these problems. So the first property we're going to talk about is the multiplication property of equality. You've used this before when working with integers. And then there's the division property of equality, which you've also used. So both of those properties still hold when we're solving equations with decimals, just like they did with integers. Now, if we multiply or divide the same number, or by the same number on both sides of an equation, equality will still hold. So that's basically what those properties mean. If you multiply by 2 on one side of an equation, you have to multiply by 2 on the other side for equality to hold. Okay, so let's do a story problem here to start off. So it says, on average, Hollister at Lakeside sells 102.4 pairs of jeans each day. After how many days will it sell 2,930.5 pairs? So we need to set up an equation, and I know each day they're selling 102.4. So if we call my little Hollister logo there, if I say D is going to be my number of days. I'll just say D is my number of days, because that's ultimately what I want to figure out. How many days will it sell this many pairs? So that's my unknown, or my variable. So I'm going to say, well, I know each day it's selling 102.4. So 102.4 times however many days that they're selling jeans. And I want to get to 2,930.5. So on each day they're selling this many, so the number of days times that amount is going to eventually get me to 2,930.5 pairs. And I want to know how many days it takes to get me to that amount. So this is the equation I need. And then I need to know the amount of days, so I have to solve for D. Right now there's multiplication happening since the variable is right next to my number. So in order to undo multiplication, I need to divide both sides by whatever my coefficient is. So divide by 102.4. Now that's gone. So D is going to equal, without my calculator here, turn it on. I want to go to my calculate screen, so I'll hit enter on that. Oh, there's stuff on there, so I'll say control. Again, that's control menu, and then clear history. That'll get me to a blank screen. And I'm doing 2,930.5 divided by 102.4. Okay, and that's going to give me this decimal here, 28.6182. So I'm just going to go ahead and round that to 28.62 days. So that's how many days it will take for Hollister to sell, for Hollister to sell that many jeans. Not very long. Okay, next we're going to go to example 2, which simply says solve using the division property. So that means I need to get the y by itself. Right now it is not by itself. It's being multiplied with negative 2.9. So again, it's kind of similar to this example here. I need to undo this multiplication using division. I'm going to use the division property. And I'm going to divide by whatever is multiplying my variable, which in this case is negative 2.9. Negative 2.9 divided by negative 2.9 is just 1. So this is now like 1 times y, or just y. And I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to say 14.79 divided by negative 2.9. That's going to give me negative 5.1 for my answer. So that's it. If I were to check my solution, which is always a wise move, not mandatory but highly recommended, I'm just going to include it here, I would take my solution, plug it back into the original equation. So my original equation was negative 2.9 times y, but I just found y to be negative 5.1. So I'm going to plug that in, and it should give me 14.79 when I plug that in on the calculator. And it does. You could go back and check that and make sure it works. Yeah, that's a true statement. So it worked. All right. So we are going to move right along here to the next example. Also says to just solve using the division property. So right now, now my variable's over on the right side, but same rule holds. I need to get x by itself. Right now it's being multiplied by 0.003. So to undo the multiplication, I divide by 0.003. So you divide by whatever's multiplying the variable. So that's gone. Type this in on your calculator. So I'm going to type 0.15 divided by 0.003, and I get 50. All right. So x is 50. That means 0.003 or 3 thousandths fits inside 15 hundredths 50 times. And I'm done. All right, example 3 says solve using the multiplication property, indicating I'm probably going to have to multiply to solve these. And I am, because if I look, my variable right now is being divided by negative 2.3. So n divided by negative 2.3 equals 0.08. So to get this n by itself, I need to undo the division with multiplication. I like to show multiplication using parentheses. You might prefer a dot. Either way is fine. So 2.3 multiplying by 2.3 causes those negative 2.3s to cancel out. So I'm left with n on the left side. And now I've got 0.08 times negative 2.3 that I need to figure out. 0.08 times negative 2.3. And on my calculator, that gives me negative 0.184. Okay, so I've solved for n. Done with that. And moving on to part B, I need to solve for t here. So right now t is being divided by negative 2.05. So to undo that division, I again need to multiply by negative 2.05 on both sides in order to keep it equal. So when I divide by negative 2.5 and multiply, those things undo each other. So I'm just left with t on the right side, and then over here I need to multiply negative 2.05, 2 and 5/100, times negative 24.8. Oh, there's a z there. That's not supposed to be there. Negative 24.8. There we go. And hit enter. I come up with 50.84 for my answer. So 50.84 is t. That seems right because I know I'm multiplying a negative times a negative, which results in a positive. And if you think about it, 25 times 2 is 50, so it kind of seems reasonable. Pretty close. But again, I could go back and check it by substituting 50.84 in for t and making sure it resulted in a true statement. Okay, lastly, example 4. Solve the equation and graph your solution. And that means graph on a number line. Okay, so I need to get t by itself. Right now I have 1,000 times t equals 4,500. So to get the t by itself, I need to divide by 1,000 because opposite of multiplying is dividing. And 1,000 divided by 1,000 is 1. So I just have t on the left side. And I'm going to divide 4,500 by 1,000. Now your calculator likes to give fractions for answers automatically. But if you want to change that fraction to a decimal, what you do is you're going to hit Control Enter. So after you get your fraction answer, hit Control right here, Enter, and it'll switch it right to a decimal for you. So all I did was hit Control Enter, and I got 4.5. So that'll give me my decimal answer. It also says to graph your solution. So I'm going to graph it on a number line. Now with number lines, as long as you're showing, so 4.5, I don't necessarily need to start it all the way at 0. I'm just going to kind of include some numbers around 4.5. So maybe I'll start at 3, 4, and 5. And that's really enough because I know 4.5 is going to be halfway between 4 and 5. So that's where I'll put my point. That's where my one solution is. D equals 4.5. And that's what it means to graph. So I'm done. Now if, let's say, this is a different type of example, but let's say I wanted to graph, I don't know, let's say I got a solution of x equals negative 7.3. Let's practice graphing a negative number. So again, I'm just going to include a couple numbers around my answer. So maybe negative 7 will be here. I know one number to the left of negative 7 is negative 8. One less than negative 7 is negative 8. One more than negative 7 is actually negative 6. So negative 7.3 would be a little bit less than negative 7. It would be right around there. So if I were to get an answer like that, that's how I would graph it.